Election night, the time it takes to call a local race here in Oregon could be a lot different from the presidential race, and that's because each state has its own voting system.
Fox 12's Sarah Hurwitz joins us live from Southeast Portland to explain. Sarah?
Oh yeah, this comes down to each state having different rules for when ballots are actually due. Our political analyst tells me that means that results on election night will vary based on those state rules. He says to be patient with this process.
Here in Oregon, ballots need to be in a drop box no later than 8 p.m. on election night in order for them to be counted. And with the system that we have in this state, Multnomah County Elections Director Tim Scott says thousands of ballots have already been counted.
When the signatures verified, starting 7 days prior to the election, we can start removing the ballots from the envelopes, scanning them into the tally system. So the only thing we can't do up until 8 o'clock on election night is release the results.
Scott says at 8 p.m. on election night, the county should be able to release between 70 and 80% of total ballots cast for the entire election. That's much different than other states where ballots just need to be postmarked by election day.
So if you compare that to, say, Pennsylvania, where they can't start processing those mail ballots until election day, we have a huge advantage over that system.
So could we know the fate of our local races here in Oregon within a short time frame?
It'll be entirely possible that by Thursday after election day that most races will be called.
Scott says if a race is close, it might take longer to call. As far as the presidential race goes, Fox 12 political analyst John Horvick says results will vary based on differences in the state's voting systems.
Those first results that come in could look a lot different than the final results. In Florida, they could look a lot more Democratic than they'll end up being. Wisconsin, they could look a lot more Republican than they'll end up being. Because in Florida, those Democrats turn in those ballots early, Republicans turning them in later. Same thing in Wisconsin, but because you can't count early in Wisconsin, you're going to have some of the potential for some of those effects. It's going to be hard for folks. There's so much anxiety and anticipation about Tuesday night. We got to be patient.
And by the way, Oregon wasn't always able to count ballots early. This all changed actually in 2009. That's according to Scott. He tells me that a number of county clerks took this to the Oregon legislature in 2009. This was after a U.S. Senate race in 2008 that took several days to call. Reporting live here in Southeast Portland, Sarah Hurwitz, Fox 12 Oregon.